Good morning. This is Bill from... Wow. What are the chances? Telephone calls and leaves falling from giant royal palms, all in the space of no time at all. Anyway, let's just keep going. And there I'm dropping my towels. Okay, where am I at? Good morning, Bill from out of Europe and Naples, but not really from out of Europe and Naples anymore. After 4 years, Marty and I have decided to end our collaboration. He's going off to pursue his dreams, something about doing pornography in Indonesia. He also bought part interest in a local gym because what a great business to get into in the middle of a global pandemic. Why not? Let's have a gym. So that should go very, very well for him. And I hope it brings him the dreams and rewards that he's looking for. Either way, it's fine. Marty is what Marty is. He's a great guy. If you assembled all the ladies that Marty has dated over the last 4 years, just that I've been there, you get them all together and you put them in a room somewhere, it's going to look like the Star Wars bar scene. I mean, the guy just is absolutely unique. And he's been a lot of fun to work with. And I'd say I was going to miss him, but that just isn't really going to be true. So what I'm actually doing, and this is a little addendum video to the video on this Aston Martin that's coming. This is going to be a 2-channel video. I'll explain that in a second. But what I've done is I've started now a collaboration with Peter at Auto House, where I've worked, Auto House of Naples, I should say, where I worked for 10 years, many years ago, started doing these videos at Auto House before going in with Marty. And it's nice to come home again, I have to say. They say you can never go home again, but in this case, I think you can. So we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to keep this channel going because I love it and because I want to be honest about things. This is going to be my review channel. I'll probably be changing the name. It looks like Curious Cars is what it may well become. I've owned that website, curiouscars.com, for a long time, and used to, sell all the little bits and pieces that I came across there. So I'm going to revive that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing anything commercially with it. I think it's just going to be a review channel. Hope to get up, 1 or 2 cars a week, maybe more. The cars that I buy and run through Auto House are going to be on that channel. And occasionally I will be filling in as a guest presenter for Marianne at Auto House of Naples. So you should be able to get me on 2 channels. If, God help you, you would find that something that you wanted to do. And this is going to be the first day of that. So I'm here at the familiar Auto House of Naples filming location. Probably not where I'll be doing this channel in the future, but it seemed like a good place, good place at the time. One of the problems here is all the foliage. What is that? Foliage, the flora, the fauna. There's birds everywhere. And you can't even just see them the way you could at Auto Europa with the there's one there in that tree up on the roof looking down at you. At least you could spot them. Here they're hiding inside all of these leaves and trees. There could be thousands of them. Thousands. Here's one right now. Thousands around me right now. Hopefully there's no chickens or roosters, or that there's a rumor that Peter keeps ducks around here. Hopefully not. And if he does, I hope he keeps them the hell away from me. But anyway, there it is. So gonna do a review now of this Aston, for Peter. This is one of his cars. And we're gonna get to more reviews and more fun on this channel over the next few weeks and forever onward. So thank you very much for your patronage. Can't appreciate it enough. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it. You guys really knock me out. I love reading the comments on it, even from the people who really hate me. I like seeing the comments, and it just really keeps me going in this business. I went to an auction yesterday. I can tell you, it was the most revolting thing that I have done in a very, very long time. Drove over to Fort Lauderdale, went to this little auction where they usually have some pretty good cars. Everything was overpriced and ridiculous, and the revolting people wandering around that place. And, you know, again, I'm not really that troubled by this whole coronavirus thing. It just doesn't affect me that much. I don't really think about it. But when you've got, you know, hordes of filthy car dealers rubbing up against you, you know, you just start to think, oh my God, you know, what if it's true? What if it's all true? I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So with great pleasure, I wore a mask yesterday. I can tell you that. If I'd had a hazmat suit, I'd have put it on. But anyway, didn't get crap, came home miserable, got pulled over on the way home by a very nice Miami policewoman who very kindly let me off with a warning. So hopefully things, you know, get better and that doesn't, you know, bode poorly for the future of this endeavor. There's something about getting pulled over by the cops that just casts a damper on everything. But I was polite, I was courteous. I didn't try to like grab their taser or anything, so I ended up not getting shot, and it worked out pretty good for all of us, the cop included. Anyway, thanks again for having a look. Really appreciate it. I'm going to fade out now so I can start the Auto House video. And again, this one's going to be run across 2 channels, so if you see it twice, don't be troubled. This is a one-time thing. Thanks again. Appreciate what you've done so far, and hope we can all move forward in the future and keep having some fun. Take care. Good morning. This is Bill, formerly of Auto Europa Naples. Some of the people on this channel, very, very few of them, may remember me from the videos on Auto House many years ago, before it was taken over by the very lovely Marianne. And Marianne is doing a little bit of a sabbatical. She's not doing as many videos. And Peter has asked me to come in and guest host. Lord knows that I can't fill the shoes of Marianne. That's not going to happen. I mean, she is a very special lady and does this better than just about anyone. But I'll do what I can. I'll try to be entertaining and try to give you the information on the cars that you want to have. And hopefully nobody gets too angry. I will say this. My shoes are for sale. They are for sale. In fact, you can buy just about any article of clothing or anything at all that you want. Just send an email and I will. Oh, I'm kidding. I don't have any shoes as interesting as Marianne's, but well, if you want them anyway, yeah, I'll sell them cheap. But anyway, let's just get into this thing. This is a 2006 Aston Martin DB9 Volante. Volante very specifically means flying in Italian, I believe. It also means incredibly overpriced convertible in English. But you know, actually the car's a bargain in its own way. What can I tell you about it? Aston Martin is a fascinating company. It's almost the British equivalent of Maserati, other than it wasn't started by a bunch of weird brothers. But it was started by 2 guys, Lionel Aston and Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford. They got together. They worked together before selling cars named Singer. They decided to make their own cars. You know, back in those days, you bought a chassis, you had other guys make a body, you sourced an engine, and then you came out with a special car. And those 2 guys were pretty good at it, so they made some neat stuff. But it was always a cottage industry, and in fact, it would continue to be a cottage industry, until about 1997 or so. But we'll get into that in a moment. You know, they went along for a few years. They made some cool stuff. They ran into financial trouble. Let me know when any of this sounds familiar in the Maserati world. And then they were saved by a woman named Lady Chatterley, who, well, it was Lady Charnworth or something. But anyway, she wanted to buy the company for her son, which she did. Must be nice. And they ran it that way for a little while. They built more race cars. They started to make a few street cars. Then the war came along. They started making airplane parts. And the history of Aston doesn't really start getting intense until 1947 when a guy named David Brown took over. I mean, you could say it was intense. Sure, there's, you know, some beautiful pre-war Astons going around, but, you know, they're celebrated and collected by the people who have 23 rooms in their summer cottages. I mean, these are not, you know, cars for mere mortals. After the war, 47 onward, the David Brown period, that's when Aston started to become more accessible to the common man. And you may remember James Bond, your Sean Connery types, drove the DB. I think James Bond famously drove a DB5, which was an Italian-designed Grand Touring car, and DB, of course, stands for David Brown. It seems a little bit self-loving to me, but what the hell. And they supplied cars to very wealthy lords and ladies, that sort of thing. They were expensive, they were beautiful to look at, and they would occasionally start and run. And that's the way Aston kept going for years, and through many different owners. After David Brown went broke, or Aston went broke, I don't think Brown did, he sold it to another guy. It sort of became, again, like Maserati, a name that got bandied around. And, people bought it because it reflected well on them. I own Aston Martin. Many people had heard of that. But anyway, so that went on. That industrialist sold it to another industrialist who sold it to another one, until finally in 1991, Ford ended up with the controlling ownership. And I believe that happened when there was a party at one of these 22-room summer cottages where one of the rich guys was there with a president of Ford, or vice president or something. And anyway, Ford ended up with the damn thing and started to play around with it. But for many years, their formula was to rob parts from Jaguar, which Ford also owned, make things a little bit more sleek, a little bit more expensive, and call it an Aston Martin. At a certain point, Ford hired a guy named Ulrich Bez, German guy. He's known for being an incredible designer and product developer. He worked at Porsche, for instance, and made the 993, a car that truly did save Porsche from a little bit of obscurity at the time. He also built the M1 for BMW, and in fact did work at Daewoo. He probably doesn't want to have that in his biography, and was responsible for the Daewoo Lasagna, great little four-seat car. But anyway, they brought him into Aston in 2000, and his task was to turn it from this niche cottage industry of a company into a global, a globally recognized brand. And he really succeeded at that, and he did it by just beating the crap out of the Ford executives. He said, no more of this, conflation of Jaguar and Ford. We need to design our own cars from the ground up, but using the resources and developments and companies that are available to the Ford Motor Company. A very, very clever move. He called it the VH platform, which this is, and that stands for vertical and horizontal. And by vertical, it means they could use the same frame on several different Aston models, from the less expensive Vantage V8 to the more expensive Vanquish. It all uses the same frame. Horizontal meant they could draw from all the resources of all the Ford companies. For instance, the safety was constructed by Volvo in this car, and some of the switchgear also from Volvo, and some of the engine stuff from, look at this, right there, looking at me. Sorry, I have a thing about birds. If you follow me in my other channel, you will know that. But anyway, so a very, very clever thing. They created the VH platform. It allowed for easy design changes, easy engine layouts, and what it did is it took some of the fear out of owning an Aston Martin. And I'll give you, for instance, right now. Love these door handles on this car. Okay, you see that little sign there, DB9 Aston Martin, hand-built in England. On some of the older Aston Martins, that little placard would have been a warning, not unlike the thing you'd see on the side of a lawnmower with your fingers getting chopped off. Hand-built in England. Holy shit, that's terrifying. Not so with this car. The Ulrich, clever guy, he used some very viable components that were flying around. It's one of my complaints about modern supercars, is they all use off-the-shelf stuff. I think Aston of this era did it better than most. I mean, it's a ZF transaxle in it. It's a ZF steering box. The electronics are Ford. The engine has Ford DNA in it. But the wiring, the switchgear, it's hard to say. I mean, you take a mid-'80s V8 Vantage, and it's an incredibly stunning car, but trying to keep the damn thing running is just an absolute nightmare. These cars, they perform all of the looks and style and appointments that an Aston Martin has to have, and they do it while at the same time being fairly reliable. So it is a remarkable thing that Mr. Bez did with Aston Martin. He carried it through till about 2013, and now it's gone on from there. They sold like 7,000 cars in 2007, which is shocking for Aston Martin. I mean, I know that's what GM pumps out in about 4 hours, and Aston's overall budget is probably what Ford spends on their phone bill in a year. But 7,000 cars from Aston was shocking. For instance, in 06, only 400 DB9s, coupes and convertibles, came to the United States. This is one of 400 in this year. So we're talking about a very exclusive, very small car company. Anyway, let's just get into it. We're going to start inside the trunk. A little bit wet this morning. We've been getting a reprieve from the horrible Florida humidity, and the weather's not so bad, but it's probably a harbinger of impending hurricanes. Like all British fancy cars, apparently German cars have to have an analog clock in order to tell people they're luxury cars. When British cars, that's an umbrella. I get it. It rains in England, so cars have a standard umbrella, at least when they cost, over 100,000 pounds. It also has like 6 cubic feet of trunk space, which isn't bad. You get a set of golf clubs in there, and of course, beautifully finished the way it should be, and all very nice inside the trunk area. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to open it. It's this little button here on the side. Who the hell would have known that? Have a look under the hood. There's also a little mist in the air, so we should probably get the top going up soon. Let's see if I got this open. So the nice thing about both the Vanquish and this DB9 is that it has a 6-liter 12-cylinder engine that's putting out about 450 horse in this car, 420 pound-feet of torque. It is... it's not quite what you'd get in a Ferrari or one of these Porsche Spider things in terms of power. If you can call 450 horsepower subdued, then this is subdued. But for most mere mortals, it's plenty fast enough. And of course, that runs through to a ZF 6-speed transaxle in the back for perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Nice stuff for Aston. Even the steering rack was placed ahead of the front wheelbase, the front wheels, in order to improve steering feel and help it handle bumps and bruises and sporty racing even better than without it. So very, very neat stuff. It also uses a very advanced aluminum architecture. I think the inner doors are magnesium, but most of the rest of it is aluminum. You've got forged aluminum wishbone suspension. You've got cast aluminum subframes, all very nicely bonded together in a way that keeps the car tight. And that's a very difficult thing to do in a convertible. Think of it like this. I mean, if you've got a shoebox and you're able to, twist the edges of it, without a lid on, the shoebox can twist like crazy. You can, make it go completely haywire. You put the lid on it and it's much more rigid. Well, that's the design issue that companies have to deal with when they build a convertible. They have to strengthen up the car. So these Volantes, they've got about an extra 100 pounds of bracing or so to cut down on the amount of flex that the car will give and keep it tight. As a result, the coupes are a little quicker. They probably handle a little bit more compliantly. But if you're pulling up to a fancy resort in the Hamptons, you're not going to do it in a damn coupe. Who the hell is going to see you? So that's why you need this thing. And Aston has provided. Also love the plexi-covered headlamps. That's kind of a styling cue from Aston for years back. Some of my favorite cars as a kid, the wall posters were Aston Martins. I loved the Lagonda. I loved the Bulldog. That was a one-off design thing, but it was just cool. And, just neat. And, of course, the Vantage. Incredible, beautiful-looking car. Aston has always been just an absolute pin-up model, and this car is no different. The DB9, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous car. And it so nicely bridges. Here's what Aston is shooting for. Ferrari's building a sports car. They want something that you can take to the track that's all about driving performance. Bentley's building grand touring cars, like luxury cars, big, comfortable, safe things. And Aston is shooting right in the middle of that. They want to bridge the gap between your Ferrari type thing and your Bentley type thing. A gentleman sports car, which is, of course, why you end up with your James Bond pipes driving them. Beautiful 19-inch wheels. Those have been, I can't remember, they're not die cast, they're flow formed or something to make them lighter, reduce unsprung weight. A very neat setup. You've got the lateral vent in the grille, which is beautiful. Where's all this stuff coming from? It's like ashes. There's no fires and I'm not smoking, so I don't know where the hell that's coming from. Anyway, you see those big manhole cover brakes behind the wheels. Gorgeous. Oh, God, you see, I had to drive this morning. It's nice when you just take them out of the garage and start videoing. But anyway, a very, very beautiful, sleek, lovely curvature, elegant, gorgeous ducktail spoiler integrated into the hood, twice pipes in the back, the beautiful Aston Martin winged badge that goes back to 1913. LED tail lamps, everything just beautifully integrated together. Ulrich Bez said he wanted to use the soft top instead of a folding hard top, which was popular in this era because it took up less space, weighed less, required less architecture, and just seemed more classic. And I believe him. I don't think it was just a cheap thing. Also, the beautiful lateral slats in that grille. Oh, what a gorgeous car. Vents in the hood. Gotta hand it to Aston. There's no real reason to make these doors sweep up like this when they're open. Really can't think of a single reason why one would need to do that. And yet I like that they did, because it's just another kind of neat little styling feature. Normally I hate kitschy stuff like that that's just designed to, cause a show instead of being for a purpose. But I'll forgive Aston. I think it's just kind of a neat thing. The interior, the fitment, the treatment, all very much British, all incredibly beautiful. They spent lovely amounts of time on the wood to make it not gaudy or cheesy. It's just lovely in the way it's been finished and put in the car. The leather, the rich smell, everything is just wrapped in leather that, it's incredible. The anodized aluminum feels lovely to the touch. The e-brake, I'm not loving the placement. That's classic Jaguar, having it between the left side seat and the door sill. Whatever, probably they're electric brakes now, but back then we had that brake there. Even this stuff is metal. I put some gas in it this morning. Even the damn gas cap weighed like 6 pounds and was made from turned aluminum. Here we've got a beautiful silvery aluminum instrument cluster, which, again, this is the kind of thing that I would normally complain about, because why does it need to be that? Give me just real standard, boring black and white instruments, and I'm going to be happy. In this car, they wanted them to be like a Breitling watch or something. You see the counterclockwise tack, that's an Aston styling cue. In direct sunlight, the cluster's not that easy to read, but it is gorgeous to look at. You also have two little LCD panels. Unfortunately, got some kind of little looks like kind of a humidity damage behind them. Bit of a shame. Comes from being in South Florida. There's really nothing you can do about it. No matter where you park these cars, they're going to get humid, and Aston Martin can't afford to do the same hot weather testing that a company like Volkswagen does. England, of course, isn't hot. You've got this beautiful black and beige leather wrapped dashboard, more of that stunning wood. This little pop-up screen is a Volvo nav unit. I'm going to fire it up. To do that, you put your key in the steering column, which I believe, there's the wipers, which is also made out of magnesium, interestingly. And you press the start-stop button, which looks plastic but is made out of expensive crystal. And there you get what is honestly the finest sounding exhaust in the industry. I mean, short of a Lamborghini, you're just not going to hear anything that's more musical to the ears, and that's why I love driving this car with the top down. That said, let's put it up. So you press this guy here, up comes the tonneau cover, up comes this beautifully lined folding soft top. Down goes the back, down goes the front. I mean, look at the Alcantara and the headliner on a convertible. Absolutely incredible. And the A-pillars, it's just the materials on this car. You really did get your $180,000 worth. You also have a glass back window with the frost, but there it is, very simple and elegant soft top. And incredibly, the car looks as good with the soft top up as it does with the soft top down. They made the roof line perfect. It is one of the few exotic convertibles that looks nice with the top up. Again, those British, they know what they're doing, at least when it comes to designing the way a soft top looks. I'm dropping my towels again. All right. Now when you fire this thing up, and I'm going to restart it for that purpose, I think it's going to say Power, Soul, and Beauty on the cluster. So let's do that. Stick that back in. You've got your Aston Martin badge. Power, Beauty, and Soul. Yeah, there it is. So that pops up. That's Aston's long-standing motto. And it's just kind of neat to see it flash up at you when you fire the car up. You've got this beautiful leather-wrapped steering wheel. You've got these magnesium or anodized aluminum up and down shift. I like the way the negative and the plus are just holes in that. That just looks cool instead of writing. Little touches like that that make it neat. Wait for navigation to pop up. This row of buttons, you know, you've got park, reverse, neutral, and drive. This has the ZF 6-speed that's been re-engineered. I think they call it Touchtronic or something, to act more like a double clutch transmission that'll blip during downshifts and whatnot, particularly in a sport mode. And that's just kind of neat. It's also much easier to use than that little flippity thing they have in Ferraris and Maseratis. I mean, this is just button press. Nice, easy, done. Ferrari could learn from that. The buttons on the air conditioning, climate control, nav control, I mean, you kind of have to have a fingertip extensions put on to, you know, make sure you just get one of them instead of two. But these are the little design things you forgive in an Aston because, you know, again, it's just friggin' gorgeous. It's like dating a supermodel. What are you going to complain about her, you know, color on her fingernails or something? You know, please. It does have the prerequisite analog clock, more of these turned steel or, sorry, aluminum knobs. You know, there's no cheap materials in this car anywhere. This, I think, is a thing to put on. I don't know what you got. It's a neat little, I don't know what you could put in there. I wish I had a joint or a, what, I mean, you're not going to get a gun in there. Not really. I mean, you might fit a switchblade or something. I suppose it's a good place to jam your phone. Yeah, anyway, there it is. Gun storage here, no good at all. You see you have a little Bluetooth thing. You got your lock and unlock. You got an ash. No, this isn't an ashtray. So even the English have given up on ashtrays. That's sad. A little power outlet, more of these buttons, and sport mode. Let's see if that changes. I'm going to open the door. See if that changes the tone of the exhaust. Oh, God, the way that car sounds. I think we should almost put the top back down so you can hear that. Maybe I'll just put the windows down. How the hell do you do that in here? There they are. Yeah, I don't know about the switch gear in this, but at least it's not out of a Ford Mustang. All right, let me get my seatbelt on. The smell of the leather in here is shocking. The sun visor's hilarious. I mean, look at this thing. You could pick your teeth with it. And they even give you a little tiny mirror to powder your nose. But all finished in that beautiful Alcantara. Again, they really do give you something for your 100 grand, or sorry, 200 grand. Traction off, fog lamps, sport. Let's go. Let's see if this gate opens automatically. I've never done this before here. I bet it doesn't. Oh, it is. It's beeping. Okay, thank God. We've got hours while we're waiting for the gate to open. So anyway, Aston Martin, Ulrich, he really did turn it into a global luxury brand on par with, you know, some of the other high-end makers, the niche makers, your Ferraris, your the top end of Porsche, the Maserati, which is a car company that lived a parallel life and, you know, has been revitalized by, even though I don't love Maseratis today, the company has inarguably been modernized by Fiat and Chrysler, so their you know, cars are much more reliable than they ever were. You could say they lost some of their soul and their mystique, but if we're going to define that by repair bills, then maybe it's better without it. God, this is terrible. I don't want to. Well, let me just hammer it a little. Man, that 12-cylinder spools up and then plants you right back in your seat. Incredible. 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 So for the go-fast guys, Aston does deliver. They haven't always. I mean, you remember the XJS-based DB7 that preceded this car. You know, it's a neat car in a lot of ways, but honestly, it's a piece of shit compared to this thing. I mean, that thing is a gussied-up Jaguar. This has been constructed from the ground up to be, you know, a mix between a Grand Tourer and a supercar. And with 450 horse, even if that's a little bit light in the supercar world, it's really plenty. You know, it's not a problem for most people to have only 450 horse under the hood. Oh boy, all right, so we're almost out to the road. I'll give it one more blast. We'll see if I can get pulled over again today. Hopefully. That's such a dehumanizing experience. And then like 6 more cops pulled up because they're gonna have lunch afterwards or something. So I'm on the side of the road in Fort Lauderdale in my old Chevy Silverado, looking like a homeless guy because I was going to the auction. I hadn't shaved in a couple days, and it looks like the cops are doing a felony stop on me. Thank God none of the girls I went to high school with drove by. Speaking of Ulrich Bez, I once had to get rescued by Andrew, another guy we know, who was at the time driving a Daewoo lasagna. I hope no one would see me then. Listen to that thing. And that's with the top up. Okay, so it has plenty of pep. You're not going to have any issue with that. The steering, beautiful. Ulrich is a race car driver, and the way the car steered and handled was very, very important to him. It was something that he wanted to make sure people could feel. So the feedback from the wheel is terrific. None of this sort of crappy electrical disconnect from the wheel feel. The braking modulation, incredibly tight together, no fade, just lovely, and all around a fantastic car to drive. We even got our vintage nav unit up in the dash. Looks like having Pac-Man up there, right out of a Volvo, by the way, of the same era. But it is what it is. So anyway, this is a 2006 Aston Martin DB9 Volante, and a beautiful car, 25,000 miles. It is for sale at Auto House. Been garage kept, been looked after, properly serviced. A very gorgeous black outside, tan and black inside. A real sweetheart of a piece. If you have an interest, give those guys a call, 239-263-8500. On the web at autohousenaples.com. Thank you so much for having a look today. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you with the next one. All right, so here's a little extra tidbit for the Auto Europa Naples guys, as I'm driving into work. Going to be great fun doing all of this stuff. I can't wait. Peter's got some neat stuff over there. Now that I'm free of supplying cars to Auto Europa in terms of, I mean, you might have noticed at the tail end of things, we got into some weirder stuff. Gone were the average E and 3 Series, the E classes, the Audis. I was getting bored with all that, to be honest. I mean, they're great fun cars, but when you do 2 million of them, you get tired of them. So I was getting into old Pontiac wagons, Cadillac Bromes, collector cars, all the fun stuff that I like doing. And this is going to be an opportunity for me to get back into that. So stick with it. Really appreciate you guys as always. And we're going to keep having some fun stuff as we go forward. I'd nail it right now and have a little bit of fun, but I saw a cruiser back there, and the last thing I need is another felony stop this morning. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon with the next one back on the Auto Europa Naples channel when I figure out what location I'm going to be doing the videos from. Take care, and see you later.